This is Sandy Tankus for TOS50.com, and I'm here once again talking to Dr. Don David Lusterman. And the last time he spoke to us, he was talking to us about his stint at rehabilitation, and we determined that he felt that the people who help you are the most important thing about your therapy. So let me start off by asking you, Dr. Lusterman, incidentally, good morning.
Good morning to you.
I wanted to just ask you, was there anyone in particular who was particularly important
Oh, yes.
in your rehabilitation?
Of course, Dr. Capullo and the staff were marvelous, but I've never thought of myself as a hero worshiper. I looked at a fellow sitting next to me one day, he had a shock of white hair, very interesting looking man, slim. One of his hands was tied to one of the machines because he'd obviously had a stroke and he didn't have power on one side yet, but he was working his heart out. And I looked at this man and said, I must know this man more. I wondered whether he had been in physical therapy for a long time before I came, but I watched him and I saw that he could barely move at this point. And this was when I first met him, and I was in therapy together with him for 3 months. During that 3 months, I watched him as he continued his development. He was learning to walk again, like an infant would learn. And he had that look of pleasure on his face that an infant has when they first learn to do something. The first time they take their first step. It was beautiful. He was so unself-conscious and so alive to what he was doing. And finally, I asked his aide if it was okay if I chatted with him, and she said sure, but he'll probably want to do it later because he's working. I said, okay, listen, what did you do? Who were you before you became a hero? I found myself asking him. And he said, no hero, as any hero would. No hero. But he was a hero. What he was doing was amazing. And I said, what did you do before you became a hero? And he said, I had my head up my backside. I said, can we talk about it? He said, not now. He said, we're working. But call me tonight. And there began a remarkable conversation. This is a man who said his life began once again after his stroke. He was a very successful guy in his work. Well, did the things that people do to become successful. Felt that he had really misguided himself often. He was excessive in things, etc. But when he had the stroke, he had a brief time earlier in his life exploring Christian Science. And he found himself now going back to it in a very profound way. And he said, the pills didn't help, all the pills I was taking to avoid this stroke. What's helped is that I've changed my life. Well, you look at a fellow like this who is accepting with such grace, such a remarkable change, and you notice that everybody in the place where we're working is inspired in one way or another by this. The staff gets sharper. We all strive a little harder. And we begin to look for other heroes in different ways. I will tell you, that experience is unique to me. That feeling that there's such a sense of group and a mutuality of respect, an honest conversation, as I said, about everything except what's wrong with us.
Yeah. Well, that's wonderful that somebody could have been helped that much, that he could have helped other people.
And he knew it. And once we talked, and once I said, you are a hero, we really had a wonderful conversation.
So it's not only the therapist, it's the people that you interact with.
Oh, yes. And then you worry. I'm a writer and a therapist. And after I wrote it, of course, I said, Joe, I want to share this with you before I share it with anybody else. And I didn't get a call back. And then he came, and he came late the day that he was supposed to talk to me. I said, oh, my God, he didn't like it. Now I'm finished. And he said, my wife, his wife is a writer also, she read it. She had the kids read it. She had grandma read it. People loved it. It meant so much to me because it was such an homage to him. But I felt that it might be too personal. But he didn't know. This is an important thing. So.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Lusterman, and we will keep in mind your thoughts about staying positive with people. And thank you so much for speaking to me.
You are more than welcome.